Ever wondered why governments borrow money when they have the power to print it? It's an intriguing question that's left many scratching their heads. The ability to mint currency seems like a magic wand for any nation facing financial challenges. Imagine a government with the power to simply create more money to fund essential services. It sounds like the perfect solution, doesn't it? But alas, in the real world, things are rarely that simple. The truth is, the relationship between government debt and money printing is a delicate balance, a complex dance of economics that requires careful understanding. The common misconception is that printing money is an easy fix to any financial predicament. But, as we will soon discover, this is far from the truth. So, let's dive in and unravel the truth about government debt and money printing. Printing money may seem like an easy fix, but it comes with a hefty price. Picture this. A government is in need of cash, perhaps due to an economic downturn or to fund major projects. The immediate solution might appear to be to simply print more money. After all, who wouldn't want to have a magic money tree? But here's where it gets tricky. When a government prints more money without a corresponding growth in its production of goods and services, it leads to too much money chasing too few goods. This is what economists call inflation. And if it gets out of hand, we enter the dangerous territory of hyperinflation. The value of money plummets, prices skyrocket, and the entire economy can collapse. It's not just a theoretical concern, we've seen it happen in the real world. Take Zimbabwe, for example. In the late 2000s, the government started printing money to pay its debts. The result? At one point, inflation reached an astronomical 89.7 sextillion% per month. That's a 1 with 21 zeros after it. The situation was so dire that people had to carry bags of money just to buy a loaf of bread. Or consider Venezuela. In an attempt to combat economic difficulties, the government flooded the market with money. The result? Hyperinflation, economic collapse, and a humanitarian crisis. In 2018, inflation in Venezuela exceeded 1 million%. Imagine that. A cup of coffee that cost 1 bolivar at the start of the year would cost 1 million bolivars by the end. So while the idea of printing money might seem attractive at first glance, it's a dangerous path. It's like trying to put out a fire with gasoline. It only makes things worse. That's why instead of printing money, many governments choose to borrow. It might not be a perfect solution, but it's a safer one. So rather than risking hyperinflation, governments often opt for borrowing. It's a delicate balancing act, but one that's crucial for maintaining economic stability. But why borrow when you can just print money? The answer lies in understanding the delicate dance of economics. When a government prints money, it's essentially increasing the supply of money in the economy. This might seem like a good idea at first. More money for everyone, right? However, this increase in money supply can lead to a decrease in the value of the currency. It's a simple matter of supply and demand. When there's more of something available, it tends to lose its value. And when the value of money decreases, we end up with inflation. Suddenly, the cost of goods and services starts to rise, and your money doesn't stretch as far as it once did. For those of you who've experienced the shock of seeing the price of your favorite coffee go up overnight, you've tasted a small slice of inflation. Now imagine that happening on a national scale. The price of everything from bread to bus fares balloons out of control. That's the risk of simply printing money. So, how does borrowing help? Well, by borrowing, governments can inject funds into their economy without immediately increasing the money supply. They're not creating new money, but rather redistributing existing money. This helps to manage the amount of money in circulation, keeping inflation in check, and maintaining economic stability. Borrowing also allows governments to spread the cost of big projects over time. Instead of footing a hefty bill right now, they can repay the debt gradually. It's a bit like buying a house with a mortgage. Few people can afford to buy a house outright, but many can manage monthly mortgage payments. And just as a mortgage allows you to live in your house while you're paying it off, borrowing allows governments to start benefiting from their investments immediately. They can build that new hospital or school right now and pay for it over time. Borrowing in this case is like taking a loan from the future. It's a way for governments to invest in their countries, to build a better tomorrow without destabilizing their economies today. It's not a perfect solution, but it's a necessary tool in the complex world of economics. Now let's shift our perspective a bit. Government debt isn't inherently bad. In fact, it's quite the opposite. Just as we individuals might take out a loan to invest in a house, a car, or an education, governments borrow to invest in long-term projects that serve to enhance society as a whole. Consider the building of infrastructure, roads, bridges, hospitals, schools. These are all large-scale projects that require significant capital to fund. By borrowing, governments can secure the necessary finances to initiate and complete these projects, which ultimately serve to improve our quality of life and stimulate economic growth. And it's not just about bricks and mortar. Governments also borrow to invest in less tangible but equally important areas. Think about research and development, which drives innovation and technological progress. Or consider education and healthcare, sectors that contribute directly to the well-being and productivity of the population. In essence, when a government borrows, it's making a bet on the future. It's saying, yes, we're taking on debt now, but we're doing so with the belief that these investments will pay off down the line, that they will foster an environment of growth and prosperity that will, in turn, enable us to pay back this debt. Moreover, government debt can also play a crucial role in economic stability. During times of economic downturn, increased government spending, funded by borrowing, can help stimulate the economy and reduce the severity of recessions. However, like all things, it's all about balance. Borrowing to invest in the future is one thing, but excessive debt can become a burden for future generations. Just as it's unwise to max out all your credit cards without a plan for repayment, governments too must be mindful of their debt levels. Responsible borrowing is key. A balance must be struck between funding today's needs and securing tomorrow's future. That's the double-edged sword of government debt. It can be a powerful tool for progress and stability, but it also carries the risk of burdening future generations if not managed carefully. So, to wrap it up, while printing money may seem like the easiest solution, it can lead to economic instability. Let's quickly recap the key points we've discussed today. When a government is faced with a crisis and needs to fund essential services, it might be tempted to simply print more money. However, this isn't as straightforward as it might seem. Printing excessive amounts of money can lead to hyperinflation, causing the economy to spiral out of control. The examples of Zimbabwe and Venezuela illustrate the devastating consequences of this strategy. Instead of risking hyperinflation, governments often resort to borrowing. This approach allows them to finance their expenses without immediately increasing the money supply and triggering inflation. In essence, they are taking a loan from the future, which allows them to control the amount of money in circulation and maintain economic stability. But there's an important caveat here. While borrowing can be a responsible way for governments to manage their finances, it's not without its downsides. Excessive debt can burden future generations with high interest payments, reducing their ability to thrive. However, not all government debt is bad. Just like individuals take out loans to invest in their future, governments borrow to invest in long-term projects that can benefit society. Infrastructure projects, research and development, and education all require substantial funding, which borrowing can provide. Think of it as investing in the nation's future. In summary, the balance between printing money and borrowing is delicate. Policymakers must tread carefully to ensure economic stability. Printing money may seem like a quick fix, but it can lead to hyperinflation and economic instability. Borrowing, on the other hand, allows governments to finance their expenses responsibly and invest in the future, but it must be managed carefully to avoid burdening future generations with excessive debt. Remember, the balance between printing money and borrowing is delicate, and policymakers must tread carefully to ensure economic stability for all. Thanks for joining me on this journey. We've explored the complexities of government debt and why it's not always as simple as print more money. It's a delicate balance, one that requires careful thought and responsible decision-making. If you've enjoyed this deep dive and want to keep learning, make sure to give this video a thumbs up. And if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button. Here at Emelins TV, We're all about providing you with informative and educative content that gets you thinking. Share this video with your friends, your family, or anyone you think would enjoy a good old-fashioned economic discussion. Remember, knowledge is power, and the more we understand about the world around us, the better equipped we are to navigate it. Don't miss our next video, where we'll continue to unravel the mysteries of the world around us. Until next time, stay curious.